Hey guys, welcome back to Burning Rubber Garage.
We're over 1,000.
We are.
We're over 1,000.
We got a lot of work done. We've done quite a bit to the Camaro and haven't really filmed much of it, but
No, you've been busy out of town. I've been busy with work. That we got done in a day. This one's been sitting on these jacks for 2 weeks.
yeah.
We're hoping it fires. We're gonna bring you guys along. It's not going to be a pretty first fire, I guarantee it. The idle's probably going to be a little low because it's going to have learned. We've done the entire install. We're going to give you the pain points. You guys saw us on that one do a lot of the install, but let's just take you around and let you see it.
But yeah, quick run through. Fuel distribution. We mounted this one a little bit lower.
Yeah.
We had a little bit more room. We did have to move a few of the electronics like we did on the Nova. A little bit cleaner route job on the wires. I know we need to get back to that, but
We'll get back to the Nova in a little bit, but you guys can see here's where a lot of your wires are going to be. They're tucked in back there.
we did new plugs
And wires.
which
Which the wires we had were just, they looked like they were probably 30 years old. They had a little bit of cracks, which I think was why the Camaro wasn't running super hot.
right. But yeah, some of the things that we learned on the first go around, we did the fuel line a little bit longer so it's not like a direct shot.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I don't know if I'm thrilled with that, but we'll figure it out. We might even end up bringing this back here just to pull it up. Still got our intake temp right there, our coolant temp. Wires are zip tied up out of the way. We had to go with the flex hose because nobody had one for this with the change in angle. So we updated that. Thermostat looked good, so I don't think it's going to stick. The other ones you saw we went in right there. So this time we tried to go over here so the air cleaner, let me grab that again. So when the air cleaner's on top, it hides a lot more of it. So you won't even see those wires, and I'm not even down, so you won't see any of the wires. We tried this time to do a little cleaner install.
You did have to drop the exhaust for the O2 sensor. I wasn't here for that.
The exhaust was a brutal pain. It had a butterfly flap in it. It was a pain to get back in. The other thing, this one had a spread bore, meaning instead of 4 holes like that, it kind of went out like that on the back. So don't freak out if you pull yours off and you have that. This adapter plate was like 20-30 bucks. Some new studs were I think under 10, and we put them on. The cool part about these studs is I could grab them with a little socket and crank them down, where a lot of them I can't. And then put those on. The funny thing about this one is this took a hacksaw and 2 pair of channel locks and me going like this to bend them apart so that it went around the back. I don't know if you can see it. I can feel it on my hands, super sharp. I did enough to get that around there. Otherwise, it wasn't going to work out. We got the throttle here. You got your kick down cable, I believe, right there. We had to tee off a vacuum line. We're going to do a little research. If it doesn't fire, that's probably the first place we're going to go.
Yeah, let me get a shot back here. I think the T.
Let's see the T, do you? It's coming off of that guy over to, I think the T's over here.
He's right down there.
T's down there. You have to get a new stud for this. It takes the bigger one, but when you buy the Mr. Gasket one, it gives you the adapter. This is just an adapter, and then I reuse the old one. We put a new gasket there, and a gasket at the bottom. Other than that, this wasn't terrible. We rerouted the wires. They're run a little nicer than they've probably ever been run. This was probably the biggest pain because the old one shot out. I can grab it and show you. So here's the old one. Hopefully it's dry. It came out like this, and if you drop that down to where it was, it covered this. You were not able to use that sensor. So you can see we went straight out versus at an angle, and that made a big difference there. So I mean, this kit,
Yeah, coolant temp sensor was in the way.
yeah, this kit took a lot of just little stuff. I thought the Nova was going to be the pain, so we did it first. And on this one actually was the bigger pain in the ass than the Nova. Again, we're just running the 400 horsepower kit. Nothing crazy. We capped off the back here. Wires are all running the fender. This thing sucks, but it was really nice. You've got multiple ports here to plug into. We will be mounting an amp back in a later video. We've got our starter wire, alternator. Not sure what the green one goes to, but I think it goes to feed some other odds and ends. And then everything we needed for the kit right here. The white one's a wire I ran into a switch that's under the dash. That when you turn it on, turns on the fuel pump and kind of lets everything go, hopefully. You can show them where we mounted the mounted to the pillar. We'll get something that covers it, but it's not the easiest controller to hide because of this right here. These wires come up. If they plugged in the back, good to go. We could hide that all day, but they have to come up and over. So all the wires are ran. Everything down there is all cleaned up. We got our switch down there. I think we're almost to the point of firing. We've already done the initial setup. We know it's a 350. We put number 2 for the cam because we're not really sure. It's not wild, but it's also not mild. No, it's probably more mild than plain Jane.
Right.
It does shake a little bit at idle. We've got our fuel pump. You go with the mechanical pump. This time we ran it so it had a nice curve in it. On the Nova, we just jacked it over.
Yes, we did.
So this one should be running anywhere from I think 5 psi to 10 on the low, and then right around 58 to 60 on the high. We put our filter down here so we can see it. Now, what else did we do? The O2 sensor's in a good spot. I should have just pulled the entire exhaust off. There's no way to drill it with it on the car like the Nova.
Yeah, not quite the room.
The nice thing is I got the exhaust up off the ground a little bit. We did notice that I broke the chin spoiler when I had to push it on the trailer. It must have hit pretty hard. It cracked it clean off, so maybe now we get a carbon fiber one. I think we're about ready to do the first fire. We'll check fluids and stuff like that. This thing will get an oil change at some point in time soon. Brakes have been bled, so we figured we added a lot more reliable, predictable go. We needed a little more whoa, and there was tons of air, right?
Oh yeah, when we were bleeding those brakes, the first 2 or 3 hits were dribbling oil and a lot of air.
So we'll show you that right here. We'll splice that video in right here. All right, guys, we're starting to do the brakes. The rears on this are drums, so you can kind of see the air shocks there. Justin's under here. He's going to have a tube running off of it. You can kind of see where he's going to go right there, I hope. It's kind of tough to see, but he's going right back up and in there. He's breaking it loose. They were really tight, so we put a little WD-40 on it. You can hear him kind of snap free and break the rust. We pulled a lot of air out of that other side. I don't know if I can get in any closer to see that. It's not going to be very easy to see, but we'll show you kind of how to go about bleeding them.
Make a little concoction like this.
He's got to pull it out here in the light so you can see it. He drilled a hole in the top, stuck the tube in. The tube's going to go over the bleeder, and then he'll use the open-end wrench to break it. And we'll show you kind of what we do there. And then it just kind of goes down there, and you kind of see how nasty that is. I don't think it's ever been changed. It stopped, so we didn't really worry about it. So, we ready?
Yep, ready.
All right, let's show you what we're going to do, and this will be the case on all of them. The thing you want to start with, start on the brake farthest away from the booster, so you do the passenger side rear. And this is what you're kind of going away from right here. Right there. So that's where you got to fill it. So you're going to do a couple sets, and then you're going to need to fill it. This one happens to have the front reservoir and the rear. So let me kind of show you what when you add more go, you need a little more whoa. So we are working on the brakes. So let me show you what we're going to do. If I can get my light down there. You're going to need 2 people or a brake bleeder. We chose the 2 people method. You're going to push the pedal. 1, 2, 3, and hold. When you hold, he's going to crack the rear open. I'll tell him it's on the floor. Is it on the floor? Yep. It's on the floor. He locks that valve back up, eyelet up, and then we do it again. 1, 2, 3, and hold. I heard him crack it that time. And you'll feel this pedal go down, which I haven't yet. And we're to the floor. Locked, so I bring it back up. 1, 2, 3, and hold. We went to the floor fast. Locked, back up. 1, 2, 3. It's open, I'm to the floor. It's closed. I'll ask him, we have a lot of fluid coming out?
A little bit, that was a lot of air.
All right, so we'll go maybe 1 or 2 more, and then I'll put some new stuff in. If you run that reservoir up there dry, you're pretty much just pumping air in and undoing everything you've just done. So 1, 2, 3. To the floor.
All right, that's how we're probably going to have to add some oil.
Okay, we're locked, we're up. So what we're gonna do now, I'm probably not gonna be able to show you this because I only got one hand, but I'll kind of show you the fluid at least. So here we are right here. Pop this off. Be careful this doesn't drip. I brought it up here, put it on my fender cover. You can kind of see, like you can barely see, but look at that. That's really dark. That one's at least like a caramel. Really dark, caramel. So that's where we need to get them to. This is really dirty, probably old, probably has all kinds of contaminants you can see flowing. Looks like rust, other stuff. So what I'm gonna do is fill that up, and then we'll continue this, and then we'll move to the front. So you go passenger rear in this car, driver rear, passenger front, driver front, and you'll be good to go.
We're back.
Hopefully you guys learned a little something on that. We only showed you the one. You're going to want to do that through all four. Fronts on this were a huge pain in the backside, is all I'll say. It's really ass, but backside, because we don't want to get...
Yeah, we had an 8mm wrench trying to wedge up really behind the spindle. I mean, it was a huge pain in the ass.
Didn't want to do it, but I think overall I really have a pretty good feeling that between the fuse that we had blown in there, because whoever had this car had what, the stereo and something else run into
the stereo and the starter were, yeah.
Yeah, they had switches run into an it just toasted it. The only thing that should have been running off that was like your ignition, but they had everything just going into one little thing and plugged in. And I think when we ran the stereo and it tried to kick on that amp,
and it was little 20 amp fuse, and it just popped it in.
But they also had that in that mix of wires. They had the electric choke over here on the Holly was going to that too, and so without that fuse, that was part of our problem. And then the wires were just, they were junk. They were supposed to be bright red. They were black. They were a little bit of cracks. Funny thing about this is I called, I don't know, I think at least 6 places, and every time they were like, oh, this is what you need, and I'd go look, and like, no, it's not. So I finally had to do a little research on my own. So this has the same end as a spark plug, same end as this. I mean, these are spark plug tips essentially up here. What I needed, I told them I finally had a 94 Chevy Silverado and got the right plugs and wires. Well, wires, plugs we knew what we were going to get because I just used what I had, but we were, oh gosh, they kept sending me this, and I'd drive over there, and I called a Chevy dealership, which, can I blast them?
Absolutely.
Was it Ken Garth?
It was Ken Garth.
Ken Garth, Chevy in American Fork, Utah. You guys suck. I called that guy, and he's like, oh, we don't do old stuff like that. Sorry. If it's been modded, we definitely don't touch that. We don't carry those type of wires. So you're a Chevy dealership, and you don't carry freaking wires.
You were
too damn lazy to look them up. And I said what I needed, and I guarantee your parts thing, you could have looked and been like, yeah, okay, this will work. But no. The most help I got was from AutoZone and O'Reilly. They would look into it, call me back, and like, no, that's not the part number. Finally, I went on, I believe it was Summit Racing, and I found their wires. I started on spark plug wires until I found similar to this for a Chevy. And then I found, it was $95 for some MSDs, and then I searched vehicle specifics. 94 Chevy came up, Silverado, I think it was 88 to 94. Put it in there, and then I found these. I called back all of those places. Every one of them had that set. None of them were smart enough or gave a shit enough to look for me. That pissed me off. That spent like a half a day on that. Because you can't run without wires.
Correct.
And those wires were trash, and I think they were causing our issues. But man, I was livid on that one. But anyways, that's enough. I'm gonna get on this soapbox.
We have it primed.
We did prime.
We just did 2 prime cycles. The way you do a prime cycle on this, we kind of mentioned in our last video. Right down here, you need to remove this orange wire as your positive wire.
Right there.
Remove it. Turn your ignition on. You're gonna hear this thing.
You won't hear it.
No, sorry, you won't hear this thing. Turn your ignition on and crank it for 10 seconds.
Chill
and then
for 30.
Wait for 30 seconds. You know, you don't want to toast your starter. And then crank it for another 10 seconds. Essentially, what you're gonna see and what you look for. Get yourself a fuel filter so you can actually see the fuel in it. You're going to see fuel come from your mechanical fuel pump to here. Once you hook this up, you'll
see that register too.
You'll start to see this. You'll start to see pressure in that gauge.
They recommend 3.
Do it 3 times.
3 cycles. We still haven't ran our vent line to the back. At some point in the near future, I figured if we need to, we'll just tuck this guy down like that for now. If it pisses all over up front, we'll shut it off. But it's just a vent. I mean, it's not like a full-blown return line like up here. Definitely an interesting install. I couldn't get my bolts to go into the outside, so inside, outside on the back one, just because I had to with the throttle bracket. Inside on this one too. I tried outside and I couldn't get the FiTech to go over the top. So I went inside, but I had to on this. I should have not been lazy and just bought a new bracket, but I was pissed because I had to buy a lot of other parts. I mean, you're like $20, and they're probably over that. Another $20. Everything was just adding up, and the kit's already expensive. So Eldebrock, this one was a spread bore manifold, so you're going to have to want to check that. If not, go to the parts store. I called 2 or 3, and sadly, every single one of them had one of those.
But they all said they didn't.
They all said they didn't know what I was talking about.
Because they didn't know what it
Come in and look at their catalog. I finally called the O'Reilly in American Fork, talked to Steve, the dude's a man. He's like, yeah, come on in, I got it right over here on the shelf. This much money, and I'll have it set aside for you. Sweet. And since then, we've been to O'Reilly at AutoZone today, and they had these. O'Reilly's just has them over by their speed parts. A lot of times they have a couple odds and ends, nothing too amazing, but it was hanging up over there right next to these studs too. It's in the same general area, and it's what it's called is a four-hole to spread bore adapter plate or something like that.
Yep.
So essentially, you're taking it from this at the top to spread out at the bottom, so that way we're actually utilizing the full manifold. We could have put it on without it because the carburetor we pulled off had the 4-hole to the spread bore, so I think we could have ran with it. Anything else we had issue-wise?
Nope. We don't have issue clearing the air filter
No, you see you've got the cowl.
got the
Tucks right up and in there.
cowl hood for it.
Well, I think we're almost ready to fire, and we'll definitely have this thing fired up in no time here.
All right, guys, this is first fire.